I have now rewatched the first 3 of the Evil Dead movies. It is time to talk about the newer Evil Dead movies, starting with the remake Evil Dead. Evil Dead follows Mia, who is staying with her friends for a weekend in the cabin in the woods to detox cold turkey style, when they find a weird situation in the basement and the Book of the Dead, and one of her friends decides it's a good idea to get the book from the basement and read it aloud in the cabin upstairs. Now, before we watch, I've only seen this movie one time before, and what I can actually remember about this movie is I remember Mia's character and part of the ending, and I actually remember, with the exception of Army of Darkness, I actually preferred the remake over all of the other Evil Dead movies. I have a different opinion about that now. Now, I will say this is a pretty solid remake. I think it still holds up as it did. I don't like it as much as I used to, but I think it's a pretty good remake, and I like it overall as a remake and a movie. And the things I actually like about this movie is I like Mia's character and how they take Mia's character throughout the movie. Acting wise, I think she did a good job. And having to come out towards the end of things, I do like. I like how why they didn't initially believe her and the reason given, and how no matter how many times people tried to escape, they showed why they couldn't escape. So I like how they answered that question as well. I think this movie is shot well too. The gore also pretty solid and good. The Deadite looks, they look pretty solid. They look pretty solid here too. And overall, those are things I like about the movie, and how different it is from the original. I do like, and the tonal switch for a more serious movie than comedic switch worked very well in this movie, in favor for me. The relationship between the brother and the sister works very well and is very believable, and I do like how they show the relationship from the very beginning all the way towards the very end. But the things I'm very mixed about, or don't necessarily are holding this movie back a bit for me, is I forgot a lot of the scenes from this movie. And one of the scenes I entirely forgot about was the tree scene. And that tree scene is very disturbing. And that was like a total surprise. I'm like, oh, that was disturbing. So that, I don't know how to entirely feel about that part. And I don't know how to entirely feel about the violence against the women versus the men, because the women get it a lot worse in the movie than the men do. And it made me feel uncomfortable as it kept going on, and just how it was with the women. So I don't know how entirely to feel about that. I don't know what the goal initially with that was, but that does make me feel a little bit uncomfortable rewatching this movie, and I didn't even realize that when I first watched it those years ago. Which definitely shows you how much I've grown up since then. I watched this as a teenager. Actually, I watched all of these movies as a teenager except for Army of Darkness. So that definitely shows something about how this movie's aged for me and how much I like them or dislike them. But overall, I had a good time with the remake, and I do like it. That definitely scene towards the end when it's just her and the brother, and she has to like feed off this evil with the red, that looks very good. And her brother basically like giving up to sacrifice himself, that definitely worked in the favor all. Acting wise, I think they did also pretty solid for the character types they're given. The character reading from the book though, that is kind of annoying though. He's kind of a annoying character, especially when it says do not read and he reads anyway. Do I feel they could have had a bit of a smarter way for the book to be read aloud? Yes, maybe have it like in Evil Dead 2 when they had like the tape recorder and they played it. I think maybe that would have liked the movie just a little bit more that way. And the opening is pretty solid. I completely forgot about the opening. The opening was that was dark. But how did the cabin not burn down, actually? How did the cabin not burn down if it was burning? That's a question right there. But again, that's just like a side little question. So overall, my thoughts on the remake is it's pretty solid. I liked it. It doesn't age as well as it used to for me, and some of the scenes that I forgot about, the movie does make me feel a bit uncomfortable with some of the scenes, especially the violence against the women versus the men. So comment down below if you have seen the remake. Do you like the remake? Not like the remake? Do you prefer the original or the remake? Comment down below and I'll see you guys soon, because next we are talking about Evil Dead Rise, and after Evil Dead Rise, Evil Dead Burn. I'll see you guys there.